Hey guys, Gavin here. I just thought I'd do a quick video for you guys, kind of showing you what's inside Nitty Gritty, what to expect, the actions you're going to be getting, and just give you a quick overview of the power of Nitty Gritty and how much it can do for all of your images. Now, we're going to dig even deeper into this in the extended training videos for the actions, but I just want to give you a quick overview so you know what to expect in Nitty Gritty and how to put it to work for your photography right away. The first thing you're going to notice is just that the actions are, like all of our other collections, they're organized into categories. So at the top here, we have the purples. The purples are kind of the one clicks, right? But don't think that because you make a click and get an effect that it ends there, because the control we have is infinite. Next, we have the yellows here, and these are kind of the blurs. These are some special actions from skin surfacing to some more creative blurs that will work on certain images and just really kind of bring stuff out on them. Next, you have kind of the utilities, right? So light painting, shadow painting, high key, low key tools, things like that, and masking tools. So for example, let's say you run an action and then you say, well, I want to mask this to the skin tones, or I want to mask away the skin tones. You can do this with one click, and it's going to take the mask that's on your current layer and mask that out. Then on the bottom here, you go down and you have your sharpening and detail and grain type tools. And do not underestimate these. Let's actually jump in and look at all of these together. It starts with surfaces, and we're going to talk more about surfaces because this one action alone is so powerful in Nitty Gritty. But we're going to run the surfaces action. And there we are. Now, surfaces is very special because it gives you this combination of these three layers. So you'll see the smoother layer, the glow layer, and the detail layer. And what's really cool about surfaces here, and let's kind of zoom in on this scene from the Tetons, and I'm going to turn this on and off. Of course, every layer, like all of our actions, it puts everything into a group, and if you run an action on top of this, it makes another group on top. So you have that vertical editing approach like we use in our other collections. Makes workflow very simple, and it makes it so you can just infinitely mod and mix things to your heart's content. You got your mask layer on there. You can adjust the opacity of the whole effect, but one of the powers of this is Nitty Gritty is not simply about, grunge and grit. And sometimes people think because of the name that maybe it's just about that edgy, hard look. And Nitty Gritty is all about the nitty gritty details. It's about finishing the image. So it's about surface. Yes, there's grit and edge that you can put in and bring out that hardness, but at the same time, you can do the same for kind of the softness and the glows. It's about that finishing surface. And surfaces, when you run this, it really gives you that control. So you can see if we zoom in here, we have all this control, and we've combined kind of a sharpness with a glow effect. So we're giving that glow, but you'll see that while there's a glow added, there's actually detail added at the same time, and this is really powerful. So now I can adjust this. I can turn the smoothing down, and this smoothing is not just smoothing surface, it's actually even smoothing the light and the dynamic range a little bit. So I can set this where I want. I can control the glow, and so basically I just have this kind of 1, 2, 3 layer system where I control detail, I can control the smoothness of the surface, and I can control the glow all in one place. This action alone has countless possible combinations that you could do, and it's a great starting point or a finishing point, quite frankly, just to bring that in. Now, we'll talk about surfaces more, but you can just continue going through these actions. So you'll see the illustrated, like the adventure, the beauty, and the Rembrandt Western. These are a bit more painterly, a bit more edgy in the sense that they do some beautiful illustrative undertones, but not so much that they look fake. Okay, so I ran surfaces, right? And now you'll see that I ran the beauty illustrated on top of it. So now we're getting this kind of dark intensity, and I can go down here and I can adjust. Again, as always, I can adjust the layers, right? So I can take the vintering layer, which gives these really beautiful tones. I can control all that and just bring that out. The definition, light definition, dark definition, all these different layers that can kind of master the different areas of the image. Now, I can go down to the oils layer, and I can say, well, I don't want to be too painterly, right? I don't want to be too over the top. I want this to be a photographic image, or I can crank it up and get a more illustrative look here. But I'm going to go with kind of a midpoint, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this painterly undertone while retaining the photographic detail in the image. And you can see that we're just kind of stacking now, right? But at the same time, I can just keep going. I can just keep adding. I could go down here now and I could say, well, let's clean some noise from the shadows. I could go to the blurs and I could add a wind blur, for example. And if you don't like it, you just delete the group, right? Or if you want less of it, you just turn the opacity down. I mean, the control there is really amazing. Let's switch over real fast and look at a portrait, and let's talk about like some details and things like that. And overall, we got a great image, but let's bring out the detail. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go ahead and run the master's portrait. This is an effect that does a lot. It also brings a bit of an edge, not quite so much as, say, the epic grid or something like that, but it brings a lot in. Now, I think it's a little too much on her face, but I love what it's doing for the feather and some of the details up here, the hair, things like that. Again, the action finishes with the mask, and the brush is actually already selected. So I'm just going to take this, turn up my opacity, and I'm going to mask out a bit. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit by backing it off on her face because I don't want the face to look too grungy and intense, right? There's portraits that this would work great on, but the beauty is we have all that control. So I'm going to retain that detail on the feathers, right? On the hair a little bit, on the eyes, things like that. But I'm just going to mask out, and I'm going to kind of soften that up in some of these other areas. So you can see here that even though I've masked out some of that effect, it's still having a significant effect. And I'm going to make sure we retain it nice and strong in the eyes because that's going to keep this really bright vividness. We want to bring out a portrait that still retains the proper softness, but has that beautiful kind of vivid sharpness that we all love so much in the finished image. Now, I could come down here and I could even go into more sharpening. I could use like the portrait sharp or something like that and then control that accordingly. But honestly, I mean, we have so much detail. Look at these feathers and the detail that we've just brought out in here through the master's portrait. And the beauty of this is we've been able to do this, bring out the areas we want, and still retain the smoothing that we want on the image overall. And so I could come down here, I could maybe bring in a little glow. We could use Beauty Illustrated surfaces, halo, one of those kind of things. Let's just play around. Let's go ahead and try something like the matte black. So this is a black and white conversion that kind of brings out the detail, but at the same time, it gives that cool kind of a matte vintage surface without being too much. Again, with all of these, a lot of these actions, you'll see that they add some texture, right? Because we're always trying to maintain that vibrant, detailed sharpness. But the beauty with all of them is, let's say you run one action and it adds texture, like we just did the master's portrait, and then we run the matte black and it adds more texture, and we're like, well, that's a little too much. Well, we can just dial that layer back or even turn it off to get the look that we want. And so I could just use this for kind of the matte black look and maintain the sharpness that I already had as we bring this into black and white and just kind of bring that detail in and just turn off the texture layer entirely because this is getting to be too much, right? We don't want to over sharpen and lose some of our quality. And then I might say, well, now I got this beautiful contrasty black and white. Let's actually come back in here on the back end and let's run the skin surfacer and just finish up with some perfect smoothness, not over the top, not like pasty, but just some smooth niceness on that skin. Okay, so here's our skin surfacer. I don't want this to be too much. So again, right now it's applying to the whole image. I'm just going to take and brush it out of some of the areas where I want that really sharp detail to be retained and make sure our eyes and mouth and hair and all those kind of details are really staying vivid. And at the same time, just bringing a little bit of that smoothness into the skin, but not too much. I want to, she has smooth, beautiful skin as it is, and I want to kind of retain that texture and that kind of flawlessness in that skin without overdoing it. Now, already here, here we've just run these three actions, and you can see they're just stacking on top. So the beauty is, we can go back, we can change our mind. When we're finished, we can flatten these images, and we can save them, or we can save them layered with all the tools and effects. A lot of control. So the bottom line is we're going to dig more into this going forward, but you kind of start up here and you've got your effects all the way down to like the centered light and the shadow color, which are a little bit more artistic, edgy, illustrative effects, and they may not be for every image, but you can have a lot of fun with these. Then we go into our blurs. Then we go into these tools for masking and shadow and light and all that kind of stuff. And then you come down here into your sharpening tools. Okay, so that is just a very quick look at how you can finish images with Nitty Gritty. There's so much more you can do, and there's more we're going to dig into over on the YouTube channel as we do more training videos. And you can actually already watch the extended length training video as we look at other images and hands-on with nitty-gritty actions. But like all our other actions, they all work great together, and whether you're using them with other actions or by themselves, these are going to give you a lot of power and control over those images to really bring them out and make them absolutely gorgeous. So stay tuned for more updates. We're always coming up with new ideas and pushing free updates and things like that, and you guys let us know if you have any questions. Have fun.